Hello, today in this video we'll be discussing mastering the Illuvium battle system and becoming the top-ranked player in the world of blockchain gaming. Hi, my name is Terran, and I'm on a journey in 2022 to educate and build a community of players who are ready to compete in the game called Illuvium on an esports level. We will be discussing strategies that include investing and preparing for the game before it's released in late 2022, and also strategies for how we're going to establish ourselves as powerful contenders for the competitive scene to come. I'm a big fan and advocate of esports and love talking about strategy and strategy games. If you want more of this type of content, please like and subscribe using the buttons below, and we'll see you in the video. Hi. So the first thing I want to do in this video is I want to go directly into an interview that happened on Zionic Gaming's channel, YouTube channel. He interviewed two of the developers, the brothers, on the Illuvium team, and they go into specifics about how the game battle system was coded, possibly how it's going to play out, and how we can expect each of the battles to take place, how they unfold, and gives us a little bit of insight whenever we're looking forward. Some things that I found really interesting. So let's go ahead and get into that, and then we'll talk about it afterwards.
Listening now, could you guys describe how the battle system will actually work?
Over to that guy.
It's pretty straightforward. It's just fairly complicated on the back end, but effectively you place down characters onto a board, and your opponent, or they'll either be there or your opponent will place them down as well.
Mm-hmm.
And when you press play, they will just fight each other, very similar to any other auto battler that exists. The difference is that we have a hybrid synergy system. We have a fully deterministic system, which means that we can store the game replay in a single file, which is just the starting locations and characters that are on the board. If you know those two things, you'll be able to extrapolate any game without needing to have any intermediary stages.
Okay.
So we have built into our system, you'll see it in the gameplay trailer, or at least you'll see the product of it, the ability to post-record things. So you can play a game in whatever quality you can get out of your computer. If you're on a lower end computer, it may be a little bit lower graphics. If you've got a really powerful PC, it's going to look just absolutely unbelievable. But then we have settings that go beyond that, that are effectively non-real-time rendering. And so you can actually render out, if you're a Twitch content creator, you can actually render out videos of cool battles that you've had and change the camera and all sorts of things. It's
change the camera. That hit the right spot. I like that.
Yeah. So you'll be able to zoom in really close, and like we have, every character that goes into our game gets what's called a cinematic level of groom, which is like all of the fur that you see. So when people see those screen grabs of like a fully furred character where we've specifically said to them, this is not a gameplay character, it kind of is, because if you do it using this special rendering mode, then you'll get that fully ray traced, all of the shadows, high level of groom. It just might take a little bit more time to render out that video, but you can still get it. But as far as the battles go, you effectively have, I like to think of it as a few separate systems that don't interact with each other, except that they're all about trying to win. The first one is your team building, which is the synergy system. You want to play a team that is strong by itself, right? And you do that by putting multiple of the same characters on the battlefield. If you put 2 fire characters, they will get a bonus that they wouldn't have gotten if you only put 1. And because characters can be part of a whole hierarchy of classes and affinities, there's just billions of combinations that you can choose.
Oh, for sure.
Then we have another system which is about countering your opponent. And I haven't actually said the name of it so far, so I guess this is a leak. We're calling it the hyper system.
Ooh, hyper system. Okay.
So when you play your characters, if you have successfully countered your opponent by playing characters that are strong against them, your character will go hyper, right? So if you play a fire character and your opponent has a bunch of nature characters, your character will get stronger as the battle goes on.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
So you get rewarded for playing something that your opponent has, played that would counter them, right?
Yeah.
And then there's the deck building, which is sort of the combination of those two, where you have to pick a deck that you take in there, which gives you the ability to make good teams that work together with the synergies, but also they give you enough flexibility so that if your opponent plays something that you weren't expecting, you have some way of countering it, right? It's no use playing a team of all very powerful fire creatures if your opponent goes and plays a bunch of earth and water creatures, for example. Or if you put down a bunch of rogue characters, well then if I play a bunch of fighter characters, then I'm going to have an advantage because the fighter actually goes hyper based on the rogue. So there's a bunch of interactions there, and each of the individual components of that is very easy and obvious to understand, but they all work together in a very complex way. It's something that is usually referred to as emergence or simplexity, meaning simple systems that relate in simple ways, but they cause complex outcomes. And that's what we've wanted to have from the very beginning of the game, is have it so that each individual part you can know, but if you want to be great at the game, you have to understand how they all link together. Okay, good. So knowledge is extreme power for sure in this game then. Yeah, it's not a first-person shooter where fast twitch wins. Although you do have to think quickly because we don't give you a long time to put down your characters. We want it to be a little bit stressful, a little bit fast. Okay, so I would love to talk about the functionality as well. Is there going to be rounds? Now I understand you guys do have images and leaked footage about this, but I'd love to talk about it a bit more for those listening. So we have cards that are the alluvials that we caught, and then we place them onto the board in specific locations to build our team. Now, is there, like, round 1, we can only each place one alluvial, and then round 2, and it keeps fighting until the very end, or is it one big battle all at once? I won't go into all of the details because the honest answer is that each of the game modes still has things that we need to test in the private betas. So the private betas are about making sure that we get other people to have a look at it, because everyone who's working on the project has been working on it now for enough time that it makes sense to us. It may not make sense to everyone else, but the general idea for the ranked mode is that you'll have rounds. You'll place down your characters alternating between them. That's not a round. That's just considered like placements. Right. And then once everyone's put out their placements, you'll get to do one more action that your opponent won't know about until the battle starts. It'll be like a blind action that both of you get to do at the same time, which can alter the state of the battle. And then you'll fight. And if you have more characters remaining, if you win, then you'll do damage to your opponent. If you have a lot of characters remaining, you'll do more damage. There's a certain amount of damage that your character can sustain before you lose. And at the end of every round, you get to swap out a certain amount of things so that you can change the battle up. So maybe you struggled because they countered you with a bunch of mud characters. And so then you say, okay, well, I got to take out my fire characters, and now I'm going to replace them with some spore characters. But maybe your opponent predicts that they take out the mud and they put in something else to they know that you're going to go spore, so then they beat you there. And so there's definitely an element of poker to it as well, where you have to be able to think about what your opponent might likely do. It's not straight up chess where there's always one objectively best thing to do, because it does depend on your opponent as well. That sounds honestly amazing, because again, you have the actual battle take place, and like you said, it's already fully automated. You kind of determine the outcome, but there's the strategy behind it that your opponent can't see, swapping stuff around. And it's not, I was worried when I first saw the battle system that it was just going to be,
you set the alluvials down, they fight, game over. So it's but there's rounds, there's strategies where you can withdraw or add more that your opponent doesn't know. So it's a whole, oh, that's beautiful. And your characters have health, which then makes sense. So maybe you lost round 1 and you took 10 damage, but then round 2 you come back swinging hard and you do 30 damage to them or something.
Exactly right.
Yeah. Okay.
So I actually want to jump over to a clip I took from a Yu-Gi-Oh video, and I just want to briefly touch base on this real quick because I want to note that in the game Yu-Gi-Oh, you can place cards face down and hide your moves from the opponent, right? Just like he's doing here. And so, like, your opponent doesn't know what you've done until they attack, and vice versa. So you're able to hide some things from your opponent. There's certain like trap cards and things, sneaky things you can do in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh with that strategy and with magic cards and whatever else. But another thing that is really interesting here is that whenever you get attacked in Yu-Gi-Oh, each team has a certain amount of life points. So up here you saw that David had like 4,000 life points, but whenever he gets attacked, it takes away some of them, and now he's only got 3,300 left. So the same thing can be said about our teams in Illuvium. We will have some sort of life points, some sort of health that they've already talked about as far as when you get attacked and everything. And so I just kind of wanted to briefly brush up on the comparisons here as far as that's concerned, and how there's a similarity to this game as well. Something we can take from this one. So now we're gonna move on to the next one. So the next part that I want to jump into is Teamfight Tactics. So here's a clip from Teamfight Tactics that I took, and I just want to briefly touch up on this and show you how, like, depending on the composition that's out in play, he's got different synergies and things over here on the left hand side of the screen that are currently in effect due to his team. Teamfight Tactics has these little items right here on the side that you can equip to strengthen your characters, and then these characters right here are your bench, the characters that you're holding in your hand, the cards. Like in poker, you have them out, you could play them at any moment or between turns, but these right here are the ones that this player has available. And then this whole bottom section down here, these are the cards that they randomly are given to choose from during this turn. And every turn you get more cards to choose from, and you can swap cards out between the ones you're holding in your hand, the ones down here. And then the auto battler is taking place, and then just like in Yu-Gi-Oh, just like in Illuvium, after each of the battles, you can see that the player will take some damage. So here, whenever we destroy that, he takes some damage here, right? And so you've got the health bars shown, and this is like a tournament type round robin setup, where in Teamfight Tactics you're actually in a game against multiple people at the same time, and each battle that takes place, it may throw you up against a new opponent. All your opponents are visible on the right hand side of your screen, and you can see they're ranked according to how much health they have left. From top to bottom, and you get knocked out one by one at a time. Illuvium may have something similar to this little thing right here. This basically says that this player can have 4 units out in play during this turn, and currently they only have 3. So he could play one more card right here if he wants. And then they've got a certain amount of gold they can use to spend on cards, buy things, trade their cards out, and acquire the same types. So In Illuvium, we can combine 3 Illuvials, to mutate into the higher tier form. And in Teamfight Tactics, you collect the 3 of a kind to transform into a 2-star unit, and then 3-star unit, and that's the highest you go in Teamfight Tactics. So there are a lot of similarities here. It is like Teamfight Tactics, but we're gonna see how it's a little bit different for Illuvium. I've got some thoughts on how the match will progress and what we're looking at strategy wise. So let's dive into that now that we've looked at these other comparisons that we can kind of glean some information from. All right, so I just want to give you a short demonstration on how I see these battles playing out. Just with the information we've been given so far, here's just a brief visual for you. So let's say I'm in a ranked game and I'm going against a player, because in my mind I want to be the best ranked player in the world. That's kind of where I'm coming and approaching this game with the mindset of developing a strategy for ranked mode, right? So if my opponent decides he wants to play a Fern, and I see its nature, I may choose to place a card, and I'm going to choose Alfie, a water type, which technically is probably not a wise choice as far as weaknesses and strengths are concerned. He may be in an advantage here, but let's say this is how it plays out. And so his Fern may be placed somewhere along the right hand side of the board, and I could technically place my Alfie somewhere on the left hand side of the board. And so maybe my other placements that are placed closer to the Fern will tank his damage before it reaches my Alfie, so that the weakness and strengths advantage is kind of negated a little bit. You're going to have to use your positioning with your units, hide some units behind others, and whatnot. So let's continue with the process. We know that we're going to have different placements. So I've placed an Alfie. Now it's my opponent's turn, and let's do. Where's the next one? Here we go, Rake. So my opponent's going to place down his Rake, and so now I've got a few options, and I've chosen Furiox, or however you say this, as my second choice here. And so I see that he's placed his Fern somewhere on the left hand or right hand side of the board from where I'm sitting, and his Rake is in the middle. I could choose to put Alfie over here, and I'm going to put my Furiox closer to the Fern so it can take him out, and Alfie could be over here. But because possibly my Alfie is not weak like Furiox to Rake, I could group them up in a way so that Furiox and Fern would probably attack each other first, place Alfie back a little bit more than Furiox, so that the Fern will attack him and not Alfie, and maybe the Rake will attack my Alfie before it attacks Furiox, so that I can protect him while he takes out the Fern from the Rake here. But we're just going to go ahead and place them back where they were. And now it's my opponent's turn again. My opponent is going to place an Umbre on the board. So now it looks like I'm in a little bit more trouble. He's got 2 steam against my fire, which do appear to have an advantage, right? If we're thinking like Pokemon, fire and water. And then I'm going to place a Seer down. So right off the bat, like I could probably rearrange some of these. I'm going to put maybe Furiox over here, Seer with Alfie in front to take the other two, and Seer to do some damage. Perhaps maybe we have some alluvials that don't just attack the first thing they encounter. Maybe you've got some of these alluvials that are programmed to attack the back line. So you've got some that will shoot the furthest enemy instead of the closest enemy. We don't really know how these will all play out, how they will work. But I mean, there's some options here. You can play around with it. But I just wanted to kind of show you that, and then keep in mind that let's say we both have one other placement that we're allowed to use for this match before it starts, and maybe I place my own nature card somewhere over here that's going to counter and help take out the Rake and Umbre that my opponent will not be able to see until this match starts, and he can potentially do the same thing. He could place another Steam character, or maybe another nature character somewhere on the board, but perhaps he's not able to move his Fern once it's placed. So what I'm thinking is whenever he places his Fern on the board somewhere, he can no longer move that piece. And then if Alfie was my first piece and I place it on the board, then I probably cannot move Alfie again until this first initial auto battle has taken place, and we're like in the middle of battle 1 and battle 2. So like if this was the battle and I lost, then maybe I take 20 damage out of my 100 damage health, if everybody starts with 100. And at this point in time, now I can move. But whenever we're planning our strategy for the initial battle, the first battle to take place, he places his Fern. He can no longer move it for this placement stage. Whenever I place Alfie, I can no longer move it for this placement stage, and so on. So every time you place a new alluvial, they're set on the board. I know in Teamfight Tactics you can kind of move your pieces around, and you've got a screen that you can flip back and forth to see your screen and your opponent's board, and it doesn't update immediately, but you can kind of see where their pieces were like a few seconds ago, and you can try to move your pieces around and counter what they're doing. But I don't believe we're going to have that option with what it seems like they've set up Illuvium with. It looks like during the placement matches, you are placing them down, and that's it. The battle will start, and then once that battle has taken place, I've taken damage, they've taken damage. The health bars have gained or decreased depending on the result of that first battle. And as we plan for the second battle, maybe there's not as many placements that take place. Maybe now that I know that I've lost this battle, I can withdraw Seer and I can place something else out there instead. So if I can only have like 3 or 4 alluvials out on the battle at any given moment, depending on like how strong they are, maybe, because he's got too many steam or water types, I remove my magma, my fire, and I place another nature or something out there, right? And then that second battle may also be hidden from view of your opponent. So I don't know. We don't know for sure if you will still be able to see your opponent before the next round starts, before the next battle starts, moving their pieces or switching their alluvials out for others. So as I'm preparing my next phase of the battle, I may still be looking at his placements and his units that were placed for the first initial battle, and I'm rearranging mine, right, according to what he previously put down on his side of the board, but he may completely change his up as well. He may move his Fern to his back line, his Rake and his Umbre are now in his front line, and they're going to be taking the brunt of the damage of the battle first, and whatnot. So there's a lot of things to take into consideration here. This is just an example that I wanted to get out there and show you of the power and the possibilities of your placements, and hiding your placements from your enemy, and kind of what we might expect whenever we see the game come out, based on the information that we've got from Aaron so far. And we'll move on to the next one. So the graphics might not be the greatest. It's kind of blurry in this recording, but I wanted to show you guys briefly what I'm trying to explain in the placements video, is that whenever they show recordings of these alluvials fighting, like this Scoriox here, for instance, may be placed behind, I don't know what the armadillo character's name is, but obviously the other two opponents are attacking the armadillo first, and Scoriox is attacking the lizard guy first. So there is a method of attacking the closest enemy to the alluvial taking place. And there you have it. Scoriox wins, right? Okay, and here's just another example real quick. This one, the battles get a little more complex as the cinematic rolls on. You see just a few here, but there's more characters. They're all attacking the one that was out in front. You just kind of got to notice that. Wherever their placement is, that's their focus. And then the battle gets more intense. There's more pieces. You can see their first target, right? And then somehow that Scoriox is getting hit from across the battle there. So there might be a little hint there. If I scroll back, looking at that unit that was on that side of the battlefield, he may be one of our units that we were discussing may target enemies across the battle and not just the first to target. He may attack the farthest target in the battle. We don't know for sure. We're just kind of using the information that we've been giving, and trying to look into these battles as closely as we can to glean any information off of them, right? So there we have it. So the next topic of discussion we're going to dive into is the fact that the other aspect to the game that will help us determine who's the victor in each battle is that each team is comprised of these alluvials that have different classes, different affinities, and between them all, different synergies that make up each team composition and what's strong, what's not strong. So as you see here, you've got things like Atlas, which are the class Bulwark, and typing water, or affinity water. So in Pokemon, you had like fire, water, grass, earth. Those are your affinities. So each one has water, fire, nature, affinities, and whatnot. But they could go further into, like Axodon says he's a maelstrom. So he evolves from Atlas to Axon to Axodon, and he basically goes from water to maelstrom, which is like having two affinities in one. So whereas your +1 affinity as a water type would be really strong against Ramfy, we kind of just assume that as maelstrom, your affinity strength becomes +2 versus, for instance, a Ramfy, right? And then he goes from Bulwark to Harbinger as a class. And so each class and affinities have different synergies, and depending on your synergies, you'll have different bonuses and stuff that your team will unlock as like a passive ability, if you will. And then you also have things like Inferno, which we believe is fire plus fire affinity. What else we got here? Overgrowth. We think that's just nature plus nature. We got granite. We got poison. We got magma. Steam, which is what is it? Air plus water. So yeah, there's all kinds of different combinations here, and on the next screen we can actually see that this is what the side of our screen might look like. So on Teamfight Tactics, we are reviewing on the left-hand side of the screen the different synergies that were active depending on the units that were placed on the battlefield currently. This is possibly what will represent our synergies and class bonuses that we get with each team in Illuvium as we're looking through them. And then I just wanted to briefly go through here and show you some of the hidden passives that I was talking about that you get whenever you combine certain classes together. And so you've got enchanters, you got mystics, that'll gain attack speed here. You've got revenants. Here's the magma we were talking about, which is earth and fire. Okay, so they get their own bonus attack damage on crit for revenants. Poison types gain max health as energy damage. And then you can go through here: rogues, scions, empaths, juggernaut, which is 2 bulwarks, right? Predators, fighters, auto attack oriented, 100% extra attack damage. And so what's interesting here is that when you're talking about some of these bonuses, and let's say that it says that your alluvial, for instance, I'm just going to use Ramfy as an example. So let's say my Ramfy against Archie does 33% extra attack speed or something like that, or has 33% extra chance to attack twice, right? Basically what that means in Illuvium is it's not an actual percentage that happens. What they've done is they've taken all of the guesswork, the probability out of the game. So whenever you read something that says it will attack twice, basically your Illuvial will attack a second time after his third attack or whatever, right? So or his fourth attack will do like double damage or something like that. And that's the way it's going to work, is that it's very calculated. The percentages aren't actual probabilities that could happen, could not happen if you're lucky. It's just, 33% is what it comes down to. It's they've programmed it so that the 33% is steady, right? It's not gonna hit one time and won't hit another time. If it says 33%, that means literally every 3 attacks, it will do double damage or whatever it's suggesting to you. So we'll go like to here. So for like a 5% dodge chance. So I don't know, 100 divided by 5, so you got 20 attacks. 1 out of 20 attacks, it will dodge, so if it survives 20 attacks, the 20th one will be dodged. Something like that. And then there was something else. But that's how the percentages work. They're not actual percentages. I just wanted to touch base on that real quick. And then here's a ranked PvP flow summary that they've leaked and put out there for us to glean some information on. So back to what I was talking about with the Yu-Gi-Oh, the deck building, queuing for a match found. You got your opponent deck reveal. So like I can potentially see the cards, the teams that my opponent has available to them whenever the match starts. So immediately I might be able to gain some insight as to, maybe they have nothing to defend against my Steam composition. So I already know before the battle starts that they don't have like any earth alluvials or something to protect against me. So I can use that to my advantage just by possibly having insight into their deck before we even start battling. Legendary enhancement bidding. My best guess into this mode is basically whenever they talk about the ranked mode, they talk about having an even playing field for all of the alluvials. So if all I have is an Axodon and I don't have the evolution forms of it, this is that stage in the match phase where it basically levels the playing field for me and everybody else involved in the battle. So I am in my assumption will be given the evolutions of Axodon, and they will all be of equal strength or power to the same stages of Axodon that my opponent has, right? To level the playing field. So they've kind of told us that you don't necessarily have to have every single alluvial and its evolutions whenever you go into ranked play, just by having that first form tier 1 Axodon, I should be able to unlock even the higher forms of Axodon to use in battle. Then we go to the next step, and we're going into our placement round that we were talking about. My example of placing your first round alluvials, then the board reveals, and we go into an item placement round. So I'm thinking the item, because right now I don't know of any other items other than like the weapons your humanistic character in alluvial wields. So we do know, depending on the composition of your team, you can equip your character with different weapons so that they can have a better synergy with the alluvials, with your team that you've placed into the battle. And then of course after that we're going to go into the battle. This is where the auto battle takes place, and then we see the result, current round of 3. So there might be like 3 battles that take place is what it looks like to decide a winner, is what I'm kind of guessing here. And then whoever has the least health or no health at all is the winner. And then we move on to the match ending. Okay. So I was almost done editing my video and finishing up whenever these awesome guys in the community decided to post this video and revealed this little chart that Najaf Plays comes out with. I encourage you all to check out Skoriox, Najaf Plays, and Eleanor. and their YouTube channels as well. But I just wanted to touch base because this is kind of cool. I like it. I like where their minds are going, where their thinking is at. But here's basically a spreadsheet, kind of like if you play Pokemon. It'll tell you like your weaknesses and strengths versus other typing like water, fire, steel, fairy, all the elements, and what you can strategize with and plan teams with here. So I don't know if you can actually see the words and what the classes, the affinities are here. But you can check out Najaf's channel, find a link to that, or Scoriox, I believe, has a copy of it as well. But this is an interesting insight, so that you can kind of start thinking ahead and planning possibly what alluvials you might want to have for like your end game, your best team. Just kind of gleaming off some information here, seeing what might be strong against more things than others. But they, even according to this, I mean, everything seems pretty well rounded. I think that he put in a lot of thought into this. It looks pretty good. Basically, if there's no plus or minus sign, he thinks that there's no advantage there. And if there's a negative sign, you do not have an advantage, going from the left side to the right here. And here you have an advantage. So this has an advantage over that, and so on. So I just wanted to throw that into my video here at the end. Again, I can't take any credit for this part, but I've stolen a lot of information from other channels and other stuff. I'm just putting it all together in this one video for you guys. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope this was pretty insightful. I am super excited about this game. I hope that if I'm not the best person that wins the first official world championship in Illuvium, possibly I'm the person that coaches that person to win that championship. That's kind of my dream. That's my goal. And I will see you guys in the next video. Be sure to like and subscribe if you want more content like this. I will continue to delve deeper into the Discord and scrape all kinds of information I can get, and see what other things we can glean some data off of, and I'll develop more content and strategize with you guys on what we're going to do in Illuvium and be the best we can be when the game comes out. All right, peace out. Y'all have a good one. Thanks. So now that we've tied everything together, I just want to get everyone else's thoughts out there. Please like, subscribe, leave a comment below. I'd love to know if you agreed with some of the things that I'm kind of hinting at, my thoughts and the process of how the game battles are going to take place. Let's discuss these things below, and if you have any suggestions for future videos, I'd love to hear the thoughts of the community. Let's develop some stuff together. Give me some insight, some inspiration to continue producing this content. All right, thank you. Y'all have a good one. Welcome to my own space. Welcome to my own space. Welcome to my own space. Welcome to my own